open the locker next to me, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'll move my stuff over." I said, "Oh, that's no worries, but I am now your realtor." And he was like a younger guy, and he looks over, he's like, "I'm sorry." And I said, "No, I'm just kidding. Are you happen to be looking for a home?" And he's like, "Yeah."
Get out of here.
But he said it that way. Yeah. So then there's this pause, because now I'm like, oh, is this dude screwing with me? You know? I'm like, "You're kidding, right?" He's like, "No, I'm sorry. It's just weird. I just got married, and my wife and I were talking last night. We should start the search." I'm like, "Oh, that's funny. I'm a realtor." He's like,
Welcome to The Home Show, where we sit down with builders, designers, and real estate professionals shaping the spaces we call home. I'm your host, Oscar Michaels, founder of OM Media. And in each episode, we dive into the stories behind the brands, the strategies behind the success, and the marketing moves that help these local leaders stand out. From concept to completion, from startup to legacy, this is where real conversations happen. Welcome, everyone. Today, I am sitting with our guest, Dave Marcolla. He is the owner, founder, and broker of record at Marcolla Realty and Marcolla Commercial Real Estate. Dave, welcome to the show. Excited to have you here, and thanks for coming in and taking the time, because I know you're super busy. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know we've known each other for years, but for the viewers, tell us, get a little bit about your background, where you grew up, where you came from, and how you kind of navigated into what you're doing today.
and I have like 2 hours.
At least.
All right. So it was a dreary morning.
When you were born, I believe it.
Of course, it was dreary. It was a sad, sad day. So I grew up in northeastern Pennsylvania, so lovingly known as the coal region. The only thing anyone would know of in my hometown is Yingling beer.
That's your hometown?
That's my hometown,
Get out of
Pottsville. Yeah. And I was always popular in college at Bloomsburg because I would bring very discounted Yingling beer. My family worked there. So moved to Newtown right after college. I graduated and had the opportunity to go into a management training program at a bank, at the time Commerce Bank, is now TD Bank. And so I was in their management training program, worked as a assistant manager in the beginning in Bensalem, then a manager in Doylestown, and then ultimately Newtown. Managed both of the Commerce banks in Newtown, and then became a regional for all of Montgomery County at 26. I had 10 banks under me. I had, company car, 100 employees, secretary, and realized, what in the world am I doing? I'm a lifelong banker. I don't want to do that. So luckily, during that time, I also took advantage of their program to continuing ed. So I went to LaSalle at night, got my MBA, studied marketing, and decided, you know what, I want to do true product marketing.
So they let you do whatever,
as long as it was within business.
Okay. Interesting.
And of course, you had to get at least a B or so to get it covered. But
so you're saying you're smart.
I got at least a B. So in that process, I realized, hey, you know what? Kind of a funny story. To try to figure out what I want to do, marketing's, this is large, right? There's so many realms of marketing, from communications to packaging to pricing to advertising. And so I had to figure out what was I going to do, because all I knew was banking. And it hit me one day. I was at the grocery store and I was getting toothpaste. And I've, even to this day, 48 years old, never had a cavity. So I, in my head, attribute that to Aquafresh toothpaste. So that's what I've used as a child. And so even to this day, like, I don't know what I'm going to do if Aquafresh ever goes out of business.
You better buy them.
I know. I got to buy stock. And so I'm in the aisle getting my Aquafresh, and I just happen to look down and I'm like, wow, there's like all these other toothpaste choices. And this one's got a thing popping out saying you'll get a free toothbrush, and this one gets this and this. And I'm thinking about it and I'm like, okay, that's marketing. Is the grocery store involved in this? Who decides like what product goes where, and why this one gets to have this promotion and that one doesn't, and this one's cheaper and that one? So it just got me thinking, did some research, and I decided, all right, this is it. I want to be a product marketing manager. I want to be the person who gets the me's of the world to stop using Aquafresh and buy the other product or whatever it might be. So surprisingly, probably to you and me, I was offered 2 different jobs within 30 days. One at Johnson & Johnson as a product manager in their Ethicon division, which is like Band-Aid and all kinds of bandage and surgical type things. And the other was, at the time, Singular, was merging with AT&T and getting ready to launch the first ever iPhones, 2007. And it was an easy decision for me. Although I knew nothing about cell phones, technology, I knew that when I saw blood, I passed out. So there was no chance I was going to work in a Band-Aid business. Right?
Makes sense.
So I went with the other one. And it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. It was interesting. One of the things that I take away that I talk to a lot of times I go back to Bloomsburg and talk to the younger students about, thinking about their career path. When I was offered the job as a marketing manager at AT&T, singular than AT&T, the director hired me. This was out in King of Prussia. And she said, before, I give the official blessing, I need you to meet with my boss. He's the vice president, general manager of the tri-state area. So I met with him. And not only was I late for the interview, which horrible, but at the end of the interview, he was so off-putting and I was comfortable. He said, do you have any questions? And I said, yeah, if you don't mind me asking. I don't know anything about cell phones, super not techie guy here, and I've only ever worked in banking. Why would you hire me?
I thought you were going to ask him what toothpaste he uses.
And then I popped out a box of Aquafresh. And he said, well, first of all, horrible question to ask while you're being interviewed for the job. But I'll be honest. He's like, my kid has me going down to that damn Commerce Bank every weekend to use the penny arcade machine like it's crack. So if you can convince my customers to come into the AT&T stores in the tri-state area like you did there, and I think you can, we'll be fine. I'll teach you about cell phones. And I was like, wow. All right, horrible question. Good answer. Thank you. Can I start right now? So that's how that went. I did do that. We were quite successful. I got promoted to director of marketing for, first the senior marketing manager for the Northeast division. So I had Boston to Baltimore and had to move to North Jersey. I was working out of Morristown, New Jersey. And then I applied for and was given product manager role nationally for back then it was wireless home phone service. So we were replacing, it was mostly seniors that wanted to be able to, call nationally on the old school phone, $20 a month unlimited. So I was able to work with CTE in China, like not go there, but on calls in the middle of the night and design the next version and the packaging and go into customers' homes and ask them like, okay, what makes sense? What doesn't? And like I did all the final edits for the user guides, the pricing, working with Walmart and Radio Shack and deciding who was going to carry which one. And so I learned so much, but I was just thrown into it. It wasn't like, there was a training program.
Like sink or swim situation.
Yeah. So I learned a lot about how to succeed and survive in any situation in business that way. And within a year, the product launch was so successful, I got promoted to my boss's job. And now I'm the director over the 4 other peer product managers that have been doing this like 20, 30 years. So now I'm managing them. And I did that for 2 years. And I reached out to Dan, who was the gentleman that hired me there at AT&T. And he had now moved on. He was now senior vice president of all Xfinity at Comcast.
Wow.
And I reached out and I said, hey, I just want to pick your brain. And he's like, yeah, sure. What? I said, all right, my boss is now in Atlanta. That's where the head of marketing sits for AT&T. He's telling me that there's an opportunity most likely in the next year for me to be promoted to an executive director role, but I need to get down to headquarters. I need to have FaceTime. I need to be in Atlanta. I'm not a fan of Atlanta. I love the Northeast. What do you think, Dan? Should I go do it, put like a year in, get that level, and then come back up and try to get into Verizon at an executive director level?
It's definitely enticing,
right,
at that level.
And he said, well, first of all, you're still the dumbass that you always were. And I said, well, what does that mean? And he said, you're talking to the senior vice president of all Xfinity of all across America at Comcast in Philadelphia, and you're not asking me for a freaking job?
Oh my God.
And I said, well, the first thing that came out was my only thought. I said, well, it is the most hated company in America. And he's like, why the hell do you think I'm here? We're changing that. I'm like, okay, all right, that's fair. That's fair.
So you got a job?
All right. It was just one of those things where, looking back, the timing was just perfect. He literally was just about to create a new position. And I think the phone call was like, actually, Dave would be perfect for this. So I went down there, that was Friday. I went down there Monday. I had a job offer.
Fast over the weekend that happened? Wow.
Yeah, I had a job offer Monday. It was a 50% increase in salary, a significant increase at bonus, 16th floor corner office in Philadelphia.
And this was before their new building. Was this Comcast 1, the first one? Yeah.
When the one was cool.
Yeah. Still cool.
Yeah.
They're beautiful buildings.
Then you go in there at the holidays and there's like a $13 million digital screen doing like Christmas, and there's snow falling and there's tourists all taking pictures, and you're like, I'm late for you realize like, no, this is pretty cool. And the train coming in right below. So I would take the train every day and pop up, didn't matter the weather. The role was senior director of sales and marketing for they call it MDU space, so multi-dwelling unit. So the easiest way I always say is imagine Trump Towers, like those kind of properties across the country. The salespeople for Xfinity can't just come knock on your door and sell you
Sure.
Xfinity, right? The front door says no way.
Yeah.
So we created a position called basically a property manager, a community manager, and they would have a territory of these properties. And their job was to come in, imagine you're the property manager, and set up a lunch with you, something, and just say, like, what do you think about Xfinity and Comcast? Oh my God, the tenants are always complaining that blah, blah, blah. Got it. I got a 911 button. We're going to get a tech out there anytime you call me. They don't have to go through the 800 number. We're going to solve problems. And what if I had a $10,000 budget a year to do pool parties and show jaws and try to, the whole point was, we're going to make your tenants stickier.
Yeah, make them happy.
We'll put on a console, like a podium kind of thing in the lobby where as soon as they sign their lease and they move in, you just walk them over to there. They pick their
Signage.
services, they sign up. It's like an interactive kiosk, the word I was looking for. And just, make it an extraordinary experience and just turn that most hated company in America on its head.
Wow.
So it was a lot of fun. I got to work with HR and design comp plans. I worked with Salesforce. I went out to San Francisco. We created an app on their phones for the reps so they could track what they're doing. With one click, they could order a pool party and it would get shipped to the property.
A pool party shipped to the property.
Not the pool, but
I got it.
the rest of the stuff. So, and then I got to travel around the country and I would be the one rolling out. I actually went down to Virginia, the company that we worked with. I'm trying to remember something scripted productions or something, but we did like Ted Lasso type stuff. Like I was able to design the training. So, I'm helping them script it, which side thing, my dream job would be a writer at SNL. So
I could see that.
I brought that into the trainings. And so, I'm picking the actors that we're doing and like, no, wait, can we do that again? But this time he's going to look more surprised. It was just like one of those jobs where like, and my boss would be like, see you in a few
Dave's
weeks,
the guy.
just go to Virginia. You got this. Like they didn't care. And then I would roll out these trainings across the country. We get people psyched up. I had a budget to throw parties. We would do all kinds of fun stuff. And it launched and we turned around, the customer saves in these properties. We increased penetration of sales against the competition. And then of course I got bored. So
Yeah, why are you a real? That sounds like an awesome job.
versus a realtor.
Like, what are you doing?
So yeah, my psychosis. So I always get bored. I want to do the next thing. So I met with the famous character of our show today, Dan, who thinks I'm an idiot. And I said, listen,
Is he still there?
No.
No. Okay.
Yeah, he has since retired.
What year is this? Like,
This was 2016. I said, listen, let's grab coffee. It's going well, right? Like, what can I do next? Like, why? I want to get to vice president by the time I'm 40. And I remember again, one of these like, such a loving guy. What the hell is wrong with you? Why are you always about titles? And again, flew right out of my mouth. I remember the conversations vividly. I said, Dan, I bet your senior vice president title comes with some perks, doesn't it? I'm like, then don't give me the title, but can I get the money?
Yeah.
So
Give me everything else that comes with it.
So he's like, the only thing I can think is we're soon going to start to launch mobile. You're one of a few that have wireless background. If you'd like, I'll tee you up. So I was able to get the senior director of acquisition marketing role for Xfinity Mobile, which was completely different. This was literally all about the majority of my day was testing out all different ways to message people who said, Comcast, you suck. I'm going to Verizon. I'm going to whatever ankle biter little Wi-Fi companies. Using, which was cool, data houses, I could determine each of those people, who do they use for their wireless and what do they probably pay based on big data.
Wow.
So then I could go back and say, I could save you $700 a year, $1,000 a year on your mobile if you switch back to Xfinity Internet because it was a requirement. The mobile service was a loss leader to get the internet customer back. My goal was a 10% win back rate.
Wow.
So I spent a lot of time with the direct mail team, which, little side note, if you didn't know, Comcast is the #1 mailer of direct mail in the United States by volume. No one sends out more mail.
Really?
Isn't that crazy? But it apparently works.
I believe it.
When I look at
That's like you would probably know better than I would, but like data and like statistically, like the age group that opens those is probably far more than people that act on an advertisement digitally. I would assume, right? Like probably 40 to 70 or 80 years old, like that age range, like they definitely love to have something tangible to look at, feel.
Right.
So did you work on that stuff?
Yeah,
Like the
and
mailers?
we had, which was kind of cool, personas, and we actually had cutouts of them. So like you could be a persona based on your age group, your metro, you live here, you did. So we'd be like, all right, how do we want to talk to the Oscars on this promo? And we called them by the name. We had different, and there was Susan who was like, yeah. But that's what you have to do in marketing, right?
Yeah, of course.
You got to get in their head and say, how do they behave? What do they want? What is it going to be digital? Is it going to be a piece of mail? And then I had to test all different. Do you know what direct mail is? You're sending a letter, you're sending a postcard. Do you know what a marsupial is?
I don't.
A marsupial. Well, it's it's like a kangaroo.
Okay.
But in direct mail, it's when if you ever get an envelope.
No, I meant in marketing.
Okay, I'm just checking. I was happy you knew the kangaroo. So if you get an envelope that has like something raised on the outside, like a gift card or something, and you peel it open, like
scratch and sniff.
No.
Oh.
Where you get like, do you ever see like you get a credit card in the mail and you're like, this is so weird. I didn't even apply for this. What is it? And it's like a fake.
Yeah.
So that's a marsupial. And we would have the best take rates typically if it said like get $500 off when you switch back to Xfinity internet. And that's like your gift card. And then it told you how you had to sign up and you had to get mobile. And
that's how you tracked it then, right?
By signups. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the QR code from that specific piece of mail. But it's not a QR code. It was something else, I'm sure, at the time.
Yeah, just a code you enter in when you go online. So, and then it was a lot of time spent on the buy process because Xfinity Mobile was, especially at the beginning, you could only get it online. So how are we going to make that a great experience for these 40 to 70-year-olds who are like, I don't even get to see the phone? So for the first time, which was interesting for me coming back from, I spent a lot of time at AT&T in the stores coming up with merchandising displays, how you could experience the phone. I created a program with a company called Device Alive so that the phones, while they're on display, like back in the BlackBerry days and the, whatever smartphone, Samsung and stuff, you would walk up and it would start to do a demo. Now I'm trying to figure out how people could just look on a website and go, well, of course I know what, a Samsung Galaxy is or an iPhone. We just had to have the most popular and you just pick one and it ships to you in the mail. I think it was a little ahead of its time. This was 2017. But within the first year, we pulled in 100,000 subscribers, which was the goal.
Wow.
And it was growing and it was successful and doing well. My boss left. I was reporting to the VP of marketing for mobile. He went to be senior vice president at Samsung Mobile. So that spot got opened. I was the most senior in line for that role. And so I was working with HR on, all right, what are the next steps so that I can be considered versus an outsider and get my VP promotion. So I was going where I wanted. At the same time, announced to me on the other end of the spectrum, the president of mobile and senior vice president of mobile, my boss's boss, had every intention of once we reached a certain threshold, rolling it back into Comcast General, because we were in, at that point, Logan, we were our own 150-person team just running mobile. Well, once you launch a product like Xfinity Home, which is your home security, all of their products, they just roll it back in, and there's one or two people that are the product SMEs experts.
Sure.
But you're just one more piece of direct mail going out, right? So they disband the whole team. So instead of me getting promoted, they said, great news, you get to look at other senior director positions in the company for a lateral opportunity before we hire from outside. Not the news I wanted to hear.
Yeah, no.
And I was also at that point kind of like getting burnt out of there were things that I was seeing that I was like kind of raising a red flag. Like in this purchase process, if you do this, within a year when you go to upgrade your phone, you will not be able to keep that number because the way the system is built today.
Oh, man.
And the MO was, we'll deal with it in a year when these people get upset. And if they leave, they leave. We're not delaying launch. Those kind of things that corporations do.
Yeah.
Because Wall Street's watching.
Yep.
That I thought, I'm missing the community stuff I did when I was at the bank and being involved in the community and knowing people and helping people. And it's just all missing. I'm spending all my time commuting and flying. And so
it's like that corporate grind that's just like makes it not fun after a certain point. Especially when you're that high up, it's like it's all about numbers to them anymore. They don't care.
And I was also in I was a senior director. So at headquarters, there's probably 500 of us at that level. You have thousands of employees in just that one building. And I remember we had a meeting at the time and it was for senior directors only. And it was like an HR type meeting. And it was about like career pathing and stuff. So, again, I'm all excited because all that matters to me is career pathing and moving up. And the head of, I think it was like, I don't know if it was what they called it at the time, but in my mind, it was like equity and inclusion, that kind of stuff. Gentleman making multiple million a year at the level he was at. He said, I want you to know that we're so committed at Comcast to diversity that if I were a white male in this room, I'd be nervous. So
That's what they said?
yeah. Now, granted, in the times we live in today, I have a feeling they would not be saying that at
No
Comcast
way.
right now. But you got to, at that level in corporate, you're trying to make sure what does Wall Street want to hear? What does Wall Street want to see, right? What does the administration want to see? What corporations do they want to help because you align with? So you're just seeing all of these things, and I'm like, you've got to be freaking kidding me, right? So all this is peppering down, and I'm just losing my interest in this game.
Yeah.
Over the holidays, I did like this brainstorming thing. I literally put it up on a whiteboard, digital whiteboard, and I just thought, let's just brainstorm for a second. I'm 40. I grew up poor. I got free lunches. My dad worked in an aluminum factory at night. Both my grandfathers were coal miners. My mom worked 2 jobs. Like, I just grew up in this mindset of survive, get the 401k,
Retire healthy.
buy your boss a gift on Boss's Day every year, and just make it to the end zone, and then retire. And so I thought, well, the good news is because of that, I'm super cheap. So
Hence the Aqua Fresh.
I have more money. Yeah, I have more money than I should, and I use every drop of that Aqua Fresh before it gets thrown out.
Stepping on the toothpaste too.
Because when you grow up poor, you have that mindset of you got to worry about what if, so you don't, you keep a nice cushion. And I was like, you know what? I have a pretty good resume. So what if I jump off the cliff, do something entrepreneurial, fine, prove that I wasn't cut out for that, and then go work at Verizon or somewhere else. I've got that resume. So I did the brainstorming thing, and I'm, okay, what are the things I enjoy? And, I'm like, oh, I'll open a dog rescue. Oh, I'll open a distillery. And then cross with, profitability. I'll cross that out. What do I, all these different things. And one of the questions I asked in this list of things was, if you could only watch one type of programming or one channel for the rest of your life, what would it be? And I landed on HGTV because I thought, you know what? It's entertaining. It's creative. You can apply what you learn. The real people. There's no drama. There's it's just like almost
Most of the
any.
time.
Yeah. Depending on the show. Yeah.
And the cast.
Yeah. Sadly, I'll admit I love this old house, right? It's just
I love that show.
So all of these things started to play together, and I have a historic home. You've seen it, and I love fixing things up, bringing them back to the way they were, and appreciating architecture and character. So all these different things were leading to something in the realm of real estate. And so, since I should never really use a hammer, I knew it wasn't going to be anything in construction or architecture. So, and then I thought, one thing that resonated for me when I worked at Commerce Bank, and I was the youngest manager, then I was the youngest regional manager in the company, and all of these things. So I got, the CEO, Vernon Hill, tended to, take a liking to me. So at big company events, he'd say, "Where's Superstar?" That's how he talked. And then he called me Superstar, so that, the handlers would bring me over to him, and he'd be there with his little dog, Sir Duffy. And
Sir Duffy.
Yeah. He'd be like, "Arr." So I've had dinner at his house. The largest house in New Jersey, 30,000 square foot in Morristown, New
Jesus.
Jersey. Quite an experience. But he said to me one time, "Do you think I like banking?" And I said, "Well, I feel like this is a trick question, Mr. Hill." And he's like, "No, of course not. I'd buy the post office if I could. Pick something nobody likes, fix it, do it better. You'll make money all day long. You don't need to invent something new." So he was like the, opposite of a lot of these, brilliant minds that I'd been working with, of the Steve Jobs and, technology and new. So I added that to the mix, right? What's something in that real estate realm that I don't think is well done and that I personally didn't enjoy? And I thought, oh my God, realtors. I've used the most popular person in the area. I've used the sweetest woman I've ever met. I've used a good friend of mine. Every time I fire them at the end, meaning I'm just not going to use them again, because I end up doing a lot of it myself. I end up feeling like they can't answer the questions. And as I dug in, I found that the majority either don't sell many homes, aren't well educated, just numerous things that would not position me to say this person should be helping make $1 million decisions.
Seriously.
And I say million, but that could be 200,000 for somebody. Whatever the largest asset is in their life, you should be entrusting to a complete expert. And that doesn't mean they've done it 30 years.
Yeah.
It's just, an expert to me is somebody who's well educated, is doing enough business to be in the mix of knowing what's going on right now.
Yeah. Challenges thrown at them every day.
Survived things that they shouldn't have, well trusted, held accountable at a boardroom level, all of those kind of things. And I thought, there's a shot that might work. What if I brought that because I'm not seeing it? And I remember having lunch with, at the time, the top realtor in Bucks County, who has since passed away. And I just had a mutual friend, and he set me up to have lunch with her. And, she comes in like a whirlwind and, like all jazzed up and the brand new Jaguar out front and everything, but like overwhelmed. And she's like, "You're an executive at Comcast and you want to be a realtor? What the hell is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "Well, you have your freedom." She goes, "I have to go let a fucking dog out after this, another house. And then I have to, da, 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 da." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So like we had a nice lunch.
And he loved dogs.
Yeah. So we had a nice lunch and I leave going, "You're right. You're right. Thank you. Yes, you're right. I'm in the right place." And as soon as I got in the car, I'm like, I'm going to become a realtor. Because I think people don't know how good they have it until they've been in the other situation. And everything she was complaining about at that time and place, I would have loved to have those problems. Versus,
Because you could probably solve them a
Yeah.
lot easier.
versus waking up in the middle of the night about national penetration rates on Xfinity Internet. Like I can't control all that, right?
Yeah.
I can make sure that dog has a really great time going for a walk. There's aspects, and if you do it right, you're getting the same paycheck. I just dug in deeper. I decided let's go with the luxury brand, so I went with Addison Wolf,
What year is this?
2018.
Okay.
And at the same time, I doubted again. I'm a big self-doubter, so I'm like, this is not going to work out. So I'm interviewing with Altice Mobile in Manhattan for vice president of wireless mobile launch for their brand, VP of marketing at RCN in Princeton, and VP of luxury products at Chubb Insurance in White House Station. Knock on wood, I haven't had to interview that many times because I've made some good intros over my career. All three of those opportunities, I had multiple interviews. All three of them, I was like, "Oh my God, this is Comcast take 3." Like AT&T, Comcast. It was the same. It was just put a different brand on it.
Yeah.
And I kind of think that showed through, and I didn't get offered any of those 3 jobs.
Really?
And at the same time, I'm like, all right, I'll finally give in and I'll update LinkedIn. I'm a realtor. All these different
I'm a
things.
realtor.
Yeah. Like,
Gosh damn it.
don't tell anybody. And I
Yeah.
started getting people that I'd worked with in these corporations like, "Oh my God, that's so cool. Hey, my aunt needs to sell her house in Plymouth Meeting. I don't know. Do you do?" And so it was LinkedIn, my business connections actually, that were my first clients. I remember the first meeting I had, it was a listing appointment in Newtown. And this was a non-referred by a past coworker. And I'm sitting at the dining room table and I'm still having the what am I doing thoughts as I'm like having a conversation with this woman about what I can do. And I lifted my arm up and it was like stuck to, I think, like maple syrup or something.
Get out of here.
And I'm like, that's it. I got to go back to Comcast. What is happening to me? And then I went through the process. I sold her house and I got a $20,000 commission check. And I said, syrup's not that bad.
I love syrup.
I love it. I licked it off. So long story short, all of that to say, I think that for me, that was the right way to do it. And I think it just reaffirmed I was where I needed to be. I didn't know it, but it was where I needed to be. And it's not easy. There's 1,400 licensed real estate agents in Bucks County. So 1,400.
Oh my God.
Now, most don't do any business.
Sure.
But, to be in the realm of within 3 years in the business, I was in the top 5%. And timing's everything, right? I went into 2018,
Yeah, what a wild time
2021.
to.
I had 12 closings in August, 1 month. I realized as I was going through the steps and stuff also, it's all about who you know. And all my connections and success with Commerce Bank was because I just killed it in Newtown, getting to know everybody, getting on every committee, board, community college, blah, blah, blah. So I've switched and moved to Keller Williams Newtown so that I could be more local and dig in again, join the business association, now president of the business association. And that helped now add that second level of ramp up to the business. I built a team and somebody came to me at the accountant and separately interesting, the accountant and the attorney for Tucker Realty, a commercial real estate brokerage started in Philadelphia 56 years ago, and said, "Look, I don't know if you're interested in expanding into commercial, but I've looked at the numbers and for what they want for it, the family just doesn't want to deal with it. The broker owner passed away. You should look at it." And since both of them did, I went down, I looked at it, read the numbers, asked the main person, leasing manager who was running the business, property management and leasing, if I was like, "What don't you like about?" "Oh, I don't have benefits." I said, if I pay your benefits and wrap you in bubble wrap, will you come along? Because
Wrap you up.
As long as I have you, you're the brains of the operation. I'm not going to pretend to take over and know what's happening.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. And it's been, going on 5 years now. We're in the process this year of rebranding it, as you mentioned, to Marcolla Commercial. So it's just simpler to understand for our clients. And we operate out of the same location on State Street in Newtown. And I have two folks she's since moved on, but I have two folks that are focused on that side of the business. And we're continuing to grow it. We have about 60 properties that we manage, and we do the, property management. So issues come up, they call us, we collect the rent. And these are commercial, industrial properties along Jacksonville Road.
Sure.
There's some
Warehouses and
gyms.
stuff.
Yeah. There's a pharmacy, a flower shop. So it's a mixed bag. But now we've started adding residential properties because more and more I'm finding clients who say, well, I want to buy a house, but I got 3% mortgage on this townhouse. Is there any way I could keep it, rent it out, and I don't even know where to begin? And so we say, yeah, we can plug you right into that same program with Marcolla Commercial, where we'll collect the rent, take a fee out of the rent. That allows us to handle any costs or expenditures to taking calls when the dishwasher breaks or and we hold funds in escrow. We have a list of partners who will come out the next day and, replace the washer, do this, do that. And then it takes the worry and the,
Headaches away.
Headaches away, exactly. So we've been adding them to the mix. And since that, the other thing I've been focused on is just, again, going back to Mr. Hill, what do people not like in real estate? And how can we go even deeper and eliminate those things? So I now have a director of probate and estate sales. So his job is just to focus on executors and estate attorneys that need real estate services. So imagine this happens every day. Someone passes away in your family, you're in, let's say, Denver, and you find out now you're responsible for a property in Bucks County.
Yeah, and sometimes an estate too. It's like, working farm or whatever.
Yeah, and it can be just a condo. Like estate just means that the person passed away and someone was assigned to now decide what to do.
I'm just thinking of the most complex example.
Mm-hmm.
You have like maintenance people there and they're all, accounting for that person to stay alive and then they're not.
Mm-hmm. So that you have to say, like, what would be the best news for you? It would probably be that your attorney or someone says to you, I know someone that can do everything from assessing the value to making repairs if needed, to removing the junk, to selling the valuables, to getting the home sold, and you'll never have to go there. And I've had that, right? So that's a friction point that we're removing to try to make the process simpler.
That's a huge one, and it could be so costly without that in place. Like imagine all the flights someone has to come,
right?
They have missing work, whatever.
Yeah, and I've talked to attorneys and they say, and then without that, they're the one that has to find those resources, right? And every phone call they're charging the estate, so it adds more, inconvenience and fees to the estate.
Sure.
So, and then January we launched turnkey estate sales. So we're actually, an estate sale company. So we can do this separately as well, where we've hired individuals to come in, help us value items. We just did one in Kennett Square, raised $24,000 for the estate from selling the valuables in the home over a weekend. We have an online portal. We have a credit card accepting machine. That's just kicked off. We've done a couple of those sales. The other piece that we're focused on is wholesaling. Do you know what wholesaling is?
Yeah, sure. But how so and what you're doing?
Well, most brokerages, if you called them up and asked the broker, do you do wholesaling? They will say absolutely not. In Pennsylvania last year, they made a law went into effect that said you must be a licensed real estate professional to do wholesaling.
Mm-hmm.
Up to this point, you've probably seen signs on stop signs that say, we buy houses, 1-800, and unfortunately, a large amount of those people call and then somebody comes out who's not licensed, not a real estate expert, doesn't have ethics behind them, and they rip the person off for way below market value, give them cash and move on.
Of course.
They fix it up, sell it, and they made a huge profit.
Well, it's like intriguing to some people that can't afford their house or whatever, and they just want that lump sum quick.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the snakes come out.
Yes. So, and there's still, unfortunately, a list of snakes that I could share that are still operating and not licensed, but
I'm sure
it's just going to take a few lawsuits and that'll, I think, go away. But so I like the fact that we know enough about how that works that we can do it. We're licensed. We have investors because I've got a list of people who've come to me saying, hey, do you ever find homes that are like just a hoarder's nest? I'll take it as is because I'm a contractor. I'll take the stuff out. I'll do this. That's a good thing, to your point. For some people, that's what's needed.
Yeah.
So I can be the conduit.
That could be like saving grace for someone, you know,
Right.
like they're just so jammed up with whatever in life, and that could be a life raft for them.
Right. So I like the fact, again, we're adding one more option. Not for everybody. If it is, great. And also that led me also to say, well, when you talk to clients, we ask them, what are you most worried about? And of course you have people that say, well, I want to get top dollar, I want to get sold fat, but you have a good number that go, what if it doesn't sell? Because they're in a position where there is no option.
Yeah.
So to address that, I created our home sale guarantee. So it's a contract that we will sign if somebody's interested in this, where I will say, I've analyzed the house, I understand the market, here's where I think we should price it. And if it doesn't sell within the period that you and I agree to, this number below that is what I will pay you myself and buy the house from you, and I'll deal with it.
Wow.
And no, people aren't taking advantage of it. It hasn't, we just started it, but that's not the goal. I don't want to buy people's houses.
Sure.
I want to move a friction, a pain point. I want to make that person who that's their biggest worry, literally trust me.
Yeah, I'm doing everything I can to make sure it's sold so I don't have to buy it from you.
Because
essentially what
and
you're saying.
worst case scenario, your problem will become mine and you still get to go away with the money. So, and I would say we had at Commerce Bank a thing called Kill a Stupid Rule, and you would get a prize if you submitted something that was like, why do we ask customers to do this? That's dumb. And then celebrate it and be like, we just removed a stupid rule and made it easier for customers. I feel that way. Like, I want people to come to me and be like, you know what else would be great in real estate? Because that's the beauty of being the broker owner. There are no rules. There's no one I got to go check with. It's got to be ethical and legal and within the standards of real estate. But beyond that, I think too many people operate in I'm afraid to take on change, make change, and I just need to focus on getting through today. And that doesn't create a world where you're creating extraordinary experiences. So we're small. We're 7 of us. Just actually hired in the past week 2 new agents that are starting in training.
Wow.
One coming from the beverage industry, just pounds the streets every day selling product to restaurants and bars, wants to get into something more lucrative. And the other one, a current new real estate agent licensed with a brokerage that is not giving him the support he needs. I looked at myself, having come recently from working for other brokers, and I said, the model, if you don't know, like I had the opportunity twice now to open branded brokerages that want to be in Newtown. And the model is within about a year, the goal would be to get to at least 150 agents and charge them at least $100 a month to exist. And then probably $50 a month for an email address. And then maybe $25 a month for a website. And maybe 10 cents per page that they print out. And then when they get to a closing, charge them a fee to have the closing. And if you look at it, it makes complete sense. They're not wrong.
Sure.
If you're a volume player, your model for profit is going to be, yeah, absolutely. Let's go to 500 agents. And there's offices that exist out there.
For sure.
Right? Not far from here.
Yeah, of course.
And you're going to tell me one broker, one of me, has any clue what these 500 agents are doing?
No way.
Ensuring that their clients are getting the best service.
It's not possible.
Ensuring that their agents are being ethical, right? Not possible. And so that's why when I thought about going out on my own, someone said to me, oh my God, you're going to be paying tens of thousands of dollars in E&O insurance. No, I'm not, because I don't go to court. My agents aren't getting sued. If it were up to me, I would mandate, maybe it's 10, maybe it's 20. You want to have 400 agents? Fine, have 30 brokers.
Yeah.
But I'm passionate about customer experience and doing things right. So that's why I focus there. But
it's been like a hot key phrase on this podcast is like the experience for specifically customer experience. Like if you're not giving your customers your all in every transaction or every project or every, communication standpoint, why are they even talking to you? Because there's someone else out there that's probably doing it better. And I know every day, like in business, like there's someone out there doing way better than I am, but that's like, that's my future self. I see me there doing that. So like, that's what I'm striving for every day.
yeah,
And if you're not trying to better yourself or your customer experience every single day, like why are you doing what you're doing?
you have 2 options in business to win. You're either doing it better or you're doing it cheaper.
Sure.
Right? So you take the better route, right?
Try to.
There's photographers out there who will be like, I'll do headshots for $20, but the quality is not going to be there. They're going to have to work 10 times as hard. It never adds up. I'm up against these agents who will discount the commissions, and okay, fine.
Yeah, go
work
for
10
it.
times as hard and let your clients be disappointed because you're doing too much. And I also think, to your point, my opinion, I think customer service every year just slips and slips in general. Like I think of the big businesses I have to deal with. Comcast is a nightmare.
I deal with them here.
My dad, I had to like escalate to the highest levels for my dad just to set up a new iPhone I set him with Xfinity Mobile. They wanted him to drive an hour at 82 years
Get
old to the
outta
nearest
here.
store because their offshore call center couldn't help him over the phone because he might be a scam and all this nonsense. Everything's about do it cheaper and faster. So to me, I think a lot of that and a lot of what goes on in our world, it seems to me people are getting angrier. People are more short tempered. They're having to do more with less time. What an opportunity to stand out as a service provider. The bar's the lowest it's ever been to give a good
Seriously.
experience.
Since COVID, like
Yeah.
that's where I mean, I was only in business for 2 years, like pretty much same time you hopped into real estate. And when we met, like that's when I got started. And over the 7 to 9 years that I've been doing this, like the bar just seems to be going lower and lower while I'm trying to set it higher and higher. So it's, yeah, like you said, the opportunities are endless right now in terms of just being the best possible you can be. And it just seems like, yeah, a lot of people chase those paychecks. And I get it. Like I was in a position, I didn't come from money either. And I've talked about this before on here. I grew up in a row home. And like, yeah, money's awesome. It allows you time, allows you to do things you can't buy or whatever. But in the end, it's like, I'm doing this because I want you to succeed. Like that, I love seeing that, or introducing you to someone that you didn't know before. Like that's why I'm in business. Like I get to wake up and do what I love every single day. And you're right. You get to create opportunities for yourself that are fun and something that you want to do and are passionate about.
Yeah.
And customers see that 100%.
Right.
And that's why I'm here. The reason I do this is because I want the audience and local communities to know who power players are that actually care about the community and, want to run a good business to help them do better in life, whether it's their biggest asset they're buying or selling, or if they need a freaking good plumber that can come in and, unclog the shit in their pipes, like whatever it is. That's the goal of this is so community members understand who to work with and why they should be working with those people.
Yeah, no, I think that's excellent. And I resonate with what you said about, growing up the way we did. And I, not practicing now, but grew up Catholic. And so joke that I have the Catholic guilt. So the positive side of that is I grew up with strong, I think, morals around just doing unto others as you wouldn't have done to you. And so the fact that I'm where I am in life and, I think every day how lucky I am. So that's why I go back and talk to students in college. Like I just, a lot of my agents are newer to the business. I want to remove roadblocks and go like, what the investment I went through and all this hard knocks, let me spare you some
a couple years
bruises and give that away free because I'm going to then watch them succeed. I remember one time in when I was in the bank, somebody said to me like, you're even better measure of your success than how many millions you bring in deposits for your goals each year is how many people did you get promoted out of your branch and you had to replace and train the next person and now they're your peer. And that hit me and I'm like, wow, that's a real like game changer to think about. My goals to replace myself and my goals to always be elevating others. And in doing so, I will naturally as well. So that's, something that I'm always trying to think about in the business. And, some agents aren't a fit for the brokerage or whatnot, but I've got to know them and I'm happy to share kind of what I've learned and help them be successful.
Yeah, I feel like immediate reaction to someone leaving you was like, God damn it. Like
all that investment.
Yeah, I just spent all that time and effort on you. And it's like immediate, like, God damn it feeling. And like that gut stomach feeling where you're like, what am I going to do? How can I replace this person in the middle of busy season? I'm not going to have time to train somebody. But you're right, like reflecting on like, damn, I made them good enough to where they felt confident enough. Or maybe you didn't make them, but you helped them make them feel that way, to get up and go. And I've had great photographers that were making 10 grand a month in busy season up and leave to go do their own thing. And it was like, man, are you sure you want to do like, it's a lot more than just, taking photos. Like you got to do invoices, HR, all this other stuff. But I'm happy that I was a part of that to get like shadowed on one of your jobs. I'm not going to name names because he's no longer with us and we don't, really communicate as much anymore. He wanted to go out and do his own thing, which I'm super happy for. But it's like, he didn't even have a great camera like to start or lenses. He didn't know like any of the settings and all this. And now he's running his own company. So it's cool to see that. And that is a great like template of measurement and terms of success. Like it's awesome.
Realistically, people are going to leave, right? As
Yeah.
much as it's easy to be like,
This is the greatest company ever.
yeah. I had someone leave who was my operations manager, Melissa. You probably talked to her in the past. She was with me like 7 years. And she said, I'm going to another brokerage to work for an agent that's going to, give me business. She's that busy. And I'd rather do that than be the operations manager. We were texting last night. She's on vacation in South Carolina. Or, great. I want her to be happy.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. That's awesome.
Yeah. And
it's hard to, like I just said, like to put that initial reaction aside and be like,
because immediately you're like, oh my God, what do I do?
Yeah, like you're screwing me.
Right.
But it's like, man, I'm really happy for you, or whatever.
Well, and within days, I hired Trisha, who's my new operations manager. She was agent services director for Keller Williams for the whole office in Newtown.
Wow.
And we connected while I was there.
I recognized her name on the email. I saw her name before.
To me, that's a testament to, again, that's why you want to keep building community so that when those situations come up, you can make a few calls and somebody's maybe in the wings saying, perfect timing, let's go.
Yeah.
So it's all about who you know and meet. I have a really good time with obviously the business association. We have 300 members. So connecting people in there, new members reaching out saying, how can I get involved? Who should I know? What, and seeing their business.
Crazy how like these networking groups are just popping up everywhere. I've noticed over the past, 3 to 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been dabbled and, involved. And now I run one here in Doylestown, Bucks Business Group. I'm going to shout it out. They actually have a Newtown chapter, I think, as well. But no, it's just cool to see like how many, local business owners just want to be more involved. And now there's more and more ways every day to get involved.
Yeah. And that could be the post-COVID thing where it was like, okay, we need to get back to that even twice as much as we were. And it's tough because there's so many different ways. It was the board chair of the cancer support community, Greater Philadelphia, the chair of the Assistance in Healthcare Foundation in Philadelphia. The sky's the limit. And I think it's important for me anyway, but I think you feel more, I feel more well-rounded when I'm balancing my business, helping other businesses, and then something to help the general public.
The greater good.
Giving back. Yeah, because not everybody can. I get it. I don't have kids. I don't have, there's responsibilities that others have that go, I'd love to, but I don't even have that time. So I think we all, it takes a community, takes a village. I think find your spot, make sure that's the other thing. I almost wish I would have made this change career-wise years ago, like further back. This is 8 years now. I'm not good at making major life changes.
I don't know many people that are. Yeah. It's hard to make that decision consciously and, physically. It's
if you make enough of these that are uncomfortable and then you realize, wow, this is the best thing I've ever done. I often sit back and think like, what else am I afraid to do or not thinking about that I'm missing the boat that I should really be making change? If you're if you're a survivor, which we are, and a lot of people are, and that people genuinely think highly of you or, are supporting you and have your back, take more risk. I think that's the biggest failing of most people and the reason why success rates aren't higher, the reason why 80% of realtors that get licensed don't succeed. They don't take the risks needed to just go hardcore, run, find a way, make it successful, trust yourself, trust your gut, lean on others, and go. Don't get comfortable. Don't worry. Don't sit and overthink. Just fill your calendar, keep moving. Life will have a way of pointing you to the right places to be if you have a positive mindset and you want to do good and you want to help people and you stay busy.
And when it's happening, like you can feel it in a sense of like, this is the right move for me. Like you're right. Like life will pull you in that direction. You can feel that gravitational pull. It's like, this is what I need to be doing right now. It feels right.
Who's pulling me to the wall? Yeah,
that's the different gravitational pull. That's probably because this building's from the 1800s.
Yeah. I'm about to go out the window.
I put a marble on this floor when I first ripped up the floors, and it was just like, ding. I was like, awesome.
Yeah,
this is the building I want to be.
That's what I love.
Tell me a little bit about marketing within what you're doing now, since we are a marketing firm. I love to hear how other businesses, and also with your background as extensive and executive level as it is and was at one point, how does that carry over to what you're doing now, and like what do you see as future Marcolla Realty and Marcolla Commercial? Like what you're saying, like rebranding, like what does that look like for you in future endeavors?
It's interesting because That's a good point. You know, it is far from Comcast. The Xfinity Mobile launch had a $200 million marketing budget. I have $20. So
I know from your invoices.
yeah.
Oscar, this is too much. It's 50% off.
But don't they say that's how people become wealthy?
I guess.
It's interesting, and I go back to my roots with these decisions because every day I get somebody reaching out. Yesterday it was, I forget, but a radio station in Philadelphia. I have that voicemail. I got to get back to him. I have 2 billboards. We have people reaching out about, we'd love to feature a realtor in the grocery store on the shopping cart, a bus shelter, and it's just all these different things. And then you have Zillow and all these homes.com, and CMO of marketing at Comcast left a few years ago and is now that role at Zillow. And he posts in LinkedIn, some of their success stories, and everyone from Comcast posts how proud they are of him. And it's all I can do not to comment and say, you have no idea what it's like not sitting in that ivory tower dealing with your company. People have this perception that somehow they've made home buying so much easier and you're now so connected and you get the latest. And I get it. Good job, because you're tricking people, and that's how you're succeeding.
They really are. If people knew the inside of how Zillow worked from the dark side,
Right.
it's disgusting. They're a big data company. That's what they are. That's all they are.
Yeah.
They're stealing information, listing after listing, and they're using us photographers to infiltrate with floor plans, measurements, photos, you name it. They want us to sign over all the rights now with this Zillow photographer program. It's disgusting. But they're the biggest monopoly in the game, and I don't see anyone even close to stopping them. If you lined up Zillow and Realtor.com, it's insane.
Right.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
I don't even know if is Trulia still a thing.
I don't know.
It's like they came in hot and heavy, and Zillow crushed them or bought them out. I'm not sure. But yeah, talk about some of the marketing stuff.
The time when I was a marketing director nationally at AT&T, I think my budget was like $200,000 for the year. So in comparison, and that's a national budget though.
It's huge. Oh, well, for a national, yeah, it's not that huge.
And so in that 200,000, I would have to decide, do I want to do there were, what was it? Something like 3,400 AT&T stores nationally. I could use that money and say every sales rep that sells one of these gets a $200 bonus in their paycheck. I could say I want to have a poster promoting the product in every store. I could say I want to run, we did a QVC spot. I could do a infomercial. My SNL, if you remember, I did get to script the infomercial where Betty calls Susan and goes, "You'll never believe how much I'm saving on my home phone."
God.
But all of those things, you have to, you put them all, that's how it worked. And it was that simple. And my analyst that worked for me, we would put together a waterfall chart that would just show, here's the cost of these things, and here's how many, we call them gross ads, new connects, new sales you would get by doing these things, because we'd have to estimate over, I'd be researching, calling people when you did a QVC spot, how many sales did you make, and estimate, and then apply. If I had $1, what would I do with that dollar? Every single time it was incent the sales reps.
Yeah, I mean, probably the best way to do it.
And that was why I was interested in the position in Atlanta, because it was just dying on the vine. Like,
Sure.
People are coming in for all these, connected this and beats and all this stuff. And they're like, how about home phone service? It doesn't matter how many hundreds of dollars. But the reality was still it would outperform the other things. And in the last year where I was in the role, I proved that all out and positioned it. And they took the entire $200,000 away and gave it to a different product group.
Oh my God.
We know you're going to suck wind this year and not sell the numbers you're supposed to. It's okay. Your product sucks. So it's not your fault. Keep it up. And I'm like,
Oh my God.
no, I can't get through a year of no one cares. We're not going to hit our numbers.
Yeah.
But so I apply that. The point is I apply that to my business today. And all these people bring me ideas and say, we can do this, we can do, and I push them on it. Okay, if we do a radio spot, how many home sales get? Well, you can't really contribute. Okay, well then my money's valuable. If I can't determine that, the billboards is the riskiest thing I've done, because that absolutely, there's no attribution model to tell me exactly you saw that board and it led to XYZ. But I did do billboards locally when I was at AT&T, and so I know enough about the value and how much to pay and how many eyes on them. And
yeah, and your spots are pretty great. The 95 one, I've had people ask me like, "Hey, did you see Dave's billboard?" And I was like, "No way."
yeah, we have two.
Do you have
now.
a QR code on it?
No, because I don't
How quick can someone do it while driving?
I
Also,
don't want to cause an
passengers, like,
accident. In fact, it might not even be allowed.
you're probably right.
So we have a static one by Route 1 in Oxford Valley there, and then we have a digital one at Ashburner
Yep.
further down. It's more so I do get a number of people that are like, "Oh, I saw your billboard the other day."
Sure.
So what that tells me is this isn't direct response. This isn't, a conversion piece. It's I believe in subliminal marketing.
Yeah,
And
it's
so,
branding.
yeah. And so I want people, when the time comes, because I tell my team this all the time, just put 5 cards in your pocket and don't go home till you gave out those 5. You have 1 left, stop and get a beer or a soda at the bar and just make a goofy joke and give that bartender your card. Trust me, the phone will ring in a couple years if you made a good impression.
I was gonna say, if you can make a good impression and leave a card, like, they will always remember that encounter.
I remember when I was hiring people for that community account manager role at Comcast. Again, picture, they had to go into these property managers that hated us and go, "Hey, can we talk?" One of the personas that I was told to go hire were real estate agents because people believe they're likable people. They're fun to be around. And I do agree, a good number of the successful ones are, if not all the successful ones. So that's part of that, because if you can do that and you network, it's a commodity. It's bread, eggs, milk. Everyone needs a house to live in. I'm not selling a specific an iPhone. I'm not selling something where you have other options. You need a house. So I think that's important. And so I always go back before I go spending too much money. And I just say, have we all given out every business card we have? Have we all talked to as many people as we can? I was at the gym the other day and I opened the locker, put my stuff down, and went over to fill my water bottle, come back, and somebody had opened the locker next to me. And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'll move my stuff over." And I said, "Oh, that's no worries, but I am now your realtor." And he was like a younger guy, and he looks over, he's like, "I'm sorry." And I said, "No, I'm just kidding. Are you happen to be looking for a home?" And he's like, "Yeah."
Get out of here.
But he said it that way. Yeah. So then there's this pause because now I'm like, "Oh, is this dude screwing with me?" I'm like, "You're kidding, right?" He's like, "No, I'm sorry. It's just weird. I just got married and my wife and I were talking last night. We should start the search." I'm like, "Oh, that's funny. I'm a realtor." He's like, "Oh, great to meet you, blah, blah, blah." And now I'm their realtor. So
That shit only happens to you, I swear.
why would I pay $10,000 for a radio spot, So, but I think I definitely agree. Like, the marketing message I would give is, if you have $1 to spend, what's the best use of that dollar? And so for when I first got into real estate, Zillow was a better performing option. I could spend a couple thousand a month and get 20 phone calls and get 2 closings. And so the numbers made sense. I'm spending less to get more. Then you start to say, well, what if I put a little bit of money into appreciating my clients and doing a client appreciation event each year? And I'm talking to them and they're like, "Oh yeah, you know what? I'm going to bring my sister. She's thinking of selling next year." And okay, that cost me $20 per person, and build that. And then, oh, why not getting involved in the local community? And how much does it cost to put your name on t-shirts at the baseball game? And then maybe you could be there and meet the families and do the last layer is things like radio and billboards.
Agreed.
I'm only doing the billboards because the person who sold me them is a really good salesperson. And also, no, I'm kidding, but he is. But also, relatively speaking, it's not bad for the number of hits. But I will tell you, if I started to see other people doing billboards in real estate, I'd be out. I like to go where no one else is, spend some time, test it out. But if it's something everybody's doing, you're not going to see me on a grocery cart. You're not, you just get lost in the shuffle. Quite honestly, it wasn't that long ago that I had to sell a house and didn't know how to find a realtor, and I just picked somebody, and to me, they were all the same. That's the mindset of people out there.
Yeah.
So I've got to always be looking at, how do I differentiate?
And like you just said, there's 1,400 active licenses out there.
Yeah. And I'm operating in 2 states and 8 counties, not just Bucks County.
Yeah.
So I'm more focused on the number of people we can meet, make a good impression. Like the 2 new agents that I'm hiring, likable guys that, they have friends, they have a big network. That's all. You just want to be the person that they think of when it's time for that.
Yeah, I think it's power in numbers. The more, like you just said, business cards you can hand out by the end of the day. And if you do that daily, power in numbers is going to be in your favor. That's how casinos win.
Yes.
It's how realtors win. It's how business owners win.
It's that. And the other thing is, I think, creative partnerships, right? Where
For
you
sure.
can, because that's why I do, BNI and you do networking groups, because if you can create more salespeople for your brand that are out there as little ambassadors, that'll make the phones ring too.
Free ambassadors too.
Right. But
Which
you
is
got to
great.
return the favor.
Of course.
Yeah.
As best you can. At
Mhm.
least you might not always be able to do that, but be able to be active in their part of their business. And yeah, it's great. What is the best way for people to get in touch with you? Is it a website? Do you want them to text you, call the office,
Anything.
Instagram,
Meet me at the gym.
in the locker room?
Just Google Marcolla Realty. I mean, Instagram. We have Facebook. We have LinkedIn. Yeah, my cell phone info's out there. The website, you can fill out on there to be contacted. You can anything.
I don't know.
And one of the other things that, if you remember Commerce Bank, it was open early, close late. We literally were open 7 a.m. The drive-through closed at 8 p.m. My team's committed. I'm committed. You're going to get an answer if you text us at 11 o'clock.
Yeah,
So
let's get a deal done.
you got to be available and quick to get back to people, or you're of no value. So
Yeah,
it's
fail to
important.
plan to fail. It's a great quote for that.
Yeah.
So getting people ready early to sell their house or buy a house, it's important.
Yeah.
So, Dave, I appreciate you being here today. I know you're super busy and I value your time. And I'm sure people definitely enjoyed listening to your story. I think it's amazing that where you came from and what you've grown and what you built and what you're continuing to build. I'm excited to, watch what you do moving forward in future years.
Well, likewise, you've done some amazing stuff yourself. I look forward to the opportunity to help other people accomplish great stuff too. So thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, man. Talk to you soon. Let's
right.
go have lunch. Thanks for tuning in to The Home Show. I hope you enjoyed the conversation and found something you can take with you. If you liked this episode, be sure to follow us and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And if you're a local leader in the real estate, design, or construction industry and want to share your story, visit om-media.com to apply to be a guest. Until next time, remember, you can't go home without OM.